Hello, welcome to another IELTS writing video. Today we are looking at how to improve your IELTS writing. If you find this video helpful, I encourage you to go to my website at IELTS.com. Students often ask me, how can I improve my writing? This is a very, very broad question, and I'm going to answer it very, very briefly. To improve your writing, you need to do two things. The first is you need to divide your ideas into concise sentences. The word concise means to be brief and to be very to the point. Often students feel that if they write long, elaborate sentences and if they use complicated wording patterns and complicated vocabulary, that somehow this is going to get them a 7 or an 8 on their examination. Often this is not the case, and I'll tell you why. Students that write long sentences that are very elaborate and use vocabulary that perhaps they don't fully understand tend to be full of grammatical errors. Someone that reads an essay that is full of grammatical errors is not going to be convinced that you are a master of the English language. So do not give yourself a problem. Write your sentences concisely, to the point, short. Now you remember from my previous videos that each sentence has a particular job that it has to accomplish. Example sentences show your point in action. Discussion sentences show how your point links to the topic of your argument. Your thesis, the most important sentence in your argument essay. Your outline sentence. Your summary in your conclusion. All of these sentence types have a particular job that they have to do. And if you include all these sentence types together, they work as a team and they make your essay stronger. And they make your essay work as a whole, not just at the sentence level, not just at the paragraph level, but at the essay level. Okay, that's my point number one. Point number two, your writing should link sentences with cohesive phrases. To me, I think this is a very easy thing that you can include in your writing to really convince your reader that your ideas are flowing together and that they are linking in an effective way that proves whatever point you are analyzing or supporting or refuting. I think everybody should know what a cohesive phrase is. These are the phrases like, for example, as this shows, because of this, thus. These points make it clear that, on the other hand, in contrast to this, in summary, to prove this, these kinds of phrases. Linking sentences in this manner will show the flow of your ideas. So overall, what you need to do is you need to write concise sentences and you need to link them with cohesive phrases. Now let's look at a student's writing. This student responded to this essay question. Many people around the world are moving towards using debit and credit cards, collectively referred to as an electronic funds transfer system, or EFT, instead of banknotes to pay for things. Carrying money electronically has more benefits than carrying money as banknotes. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, so the question, I'm sure you will agree, is quite straightforward. We are simply asked to comment on whether carrying money in an electronic form, such as a debit card or a credit card, carries with it more benefits than holding money as banknotes, which would be just like paper money, like the paper US dollar, the Emirati dirham. Do you agree or disagree? Now, the student responded to this as an argument essay, as they should, and they agreed with this statement. What I am going to present to you now is the first supporting paragraph that the student wrote. And what you will see is that the students tried to write very long, very elaborate sentences. I believe they tried to use some vocabulary that perhaps they don't really understand. And unfortunately, what happens, and what you will see in a moment, is that the paragraph fails. It's difficult to understand, and the points do not come across clearly. Here we go. Firstly, when money is carried as banknotes, the safety is much less than those who get money from some sort of card. And there are some examples to show this. For instance, the UAE's dirham is a currency that comes in very high banknotes. The highest banknote is 1,000, and this is more than 250 American dollars. This is a lot of money. And if this money is stolen, or if some man copies this money and prints this money new, maybe some people will very quickly lose their money. These problems are not apparent with EFT, and so this system has shown many reasons that are better than cash. Okay, that's the student's supporting paragraph. Now we're going to go back and correct it together, but I would like to just point out quickly the student's reasoning in this paragraph, which I think you will agree with me, is actually quite effective. So firstly, we know the student agrees that electronic funds are more beneficial than banknotes. And the reason the first reason they give to support this is in their topic sentence, which states that electronic money is safer than banknotes. That's what the student is trying to say in their opening sentence. The problem is they write the sentence a little bit too long. Now, the second thing that the student does in this paragraph is they give us an example to show how electronic money is actually safer than banknotes. And the example they give us is the Emirati dirham, which is available in large denominations. So they give us an example of large dirham denominations. They mention that the dirham is available in a unit of 1,000, which is, they stated in US dollars, which is over 250 US dollars. Most people would agree that's a pretty large denomination of paper money. So they give this example and they say that this is perhaps not a very safe way to carry money. Okay, now the third thing the student does is they provide a discussion of how this large denomination of cash is not safe. So, third thing is they provide a discussion of how this large denomination is unsafe. Okay. So far, their reasoning is fine. All of this makes sense. The progression makes sense. They close the paragraph by showing how the points that they brought up in the paragraph and the example and the discussion support the thesis, which, as we know, is agreeing with the idea that electronic funds are better or more beneficial than banknotes. So the fourth thing the student does is he shows how this point proves that now the phrase they use is EFT systems are better than banknote systems. Okay. These are the 4 points, the 4 parts of this paragraph that the student has included. First, electronic money is safer than banknotes. That's the topic sentence. Then they provide an example of large dirham denominations. Thirdly, they provide us a discussion of how large denominations are unsafe. Finally, they show us how this point proves the thesis that EFT systems are better than banknote systems. Now, as far as reasoning goes, this student's paragraph is fine. The reasoning behind all of the sentences are fine. The problem is that the structure of the sentences themselves are difficult to understand. So, now keeping the student's reasoning in mind, let's go back and correct each of the sentences in this paragraph. Okay. The first sentence reads, "Firstly, when money is carried as banknotes, the safety is much less than those who get money from some sort of card, and there are some examples to show this." Now, this sentence is needlessly long. Let's just check how many words. So in this one sentence alone, there are 30 words. Just for argument's sake, I'm going to check to see how long this paragraph is. paragraph is 110 sentences, which is almost half the length of your essay. Much too long. Sorry, 110 words, not sentences. Now, how can we rephrase this? Basically, what we want to say is that banknotes are less safe than electronic funds. We want to say this concisely. We want to say this briefly. So let's keep firstly, and let's take out the rest. Okay, now I'm going to say this as briefly as I can. Carrying money as banknotes is not as safe as accessing funds via a debit or credit card. Okay? Very simple. So now anybody that reads this topic sentence will understand our point. There will be no area where they feel unclear. So now let's go to our example. Now the student has written, for instance, the UAE's dirham is a currency that comes in very high banknotes. The highest banknote is 1,000, and this is more than 250 American dollars. Now the first thing that many of you will notice is that this is not one sentence, it's actually two. So here, the student should have included a full stop and started a new idea. So basically the student is arguing that the dirham comes in a unit of 1,000, which is equal to over 250 American dollars, and that this is very high. That is the student's example. So let's try rewording this part a little bit more briefly. Now I'm going to take both, we just mentioned these are two sentences. I'm going to take both sentences away and we'll try to restructure it in a different way. So let's say the United Arab Emirates dirham issues denominations as high as, we'll say, 1,000. And then the equivalent of more than 250 American dollars. For instance, the United Arab Emirates dirham issues denominations as high as 1,000, the equivalent of more than 250 American dollars. Okay, the example is simple, the example is clear. Now we can place this as a comma followed by the remaining idea, or if you feel more comfortable, don't be scared of full stops. Full stops are our friends. We can use them to separate ideas and to make our points clear. Now I know some students are probably wondering, why are we using, this is the equivalent of more than 250 American dollars. Why are we using digits? I'm sure some students are wondering. If you decide to use digits in one part of your writing, it's okay as long as you use it in the remaining parts of your writing. So for example, if I write 1,000 as a number here, I have to write 250 as a number here, not in writing. Okay. Now the student's next sentence is a discussion of this example and shows us how this example makes it clear that carrying cash, carrying paper money, is less safe than carrying money as electronic funds. Now the student writes, "This is a lot of money, and if this money is stolen, or if some man copies this money and prints this money new, maybe some people will very quickly lose their money." Okay, now first thing I'm sure you've noticed is that the word money appears 4 times in this single sentence. Another thing that's kind of strange is that there's a reference made to some man. I'm not exactly sure why students write this sort of thing. It's kind of awkward to write it as a man or a woman. I mean, we could say perhaps some person, but I'm not sure what the student means here. It's a very confusing sentence. So what we want to state here is that cash as banknotes can be seen as less safe because of our example. Okay, now I would like to be able to correct this sentence, but I think we're just going to have to write a completely new one. Let's keep some ideas though. The student mentions if the money is stolen or if the money is copied. So for example, if the money is counterfeited, if copies are made and distributed, then people could lose money quickly. And that's only because the denominations of money are very high. So, in the event dirham banknotes are stolen, or we'll say successfully counterfeited, large amounts of money could be lost rather quickly. Okay, now I'm going to use a little cohesion in here. Thus, in the event dirham banknotes are stolen or successfully counterfeited, large amounts of money could be lost rather quickly. Now, when you read this sentence, can you see how this sentence links back to our example and shows how the example proves that cash as paper money, as banknotes, is not as secure as electronic money? Now the final sentence in this paragraph, the student links back to their thesis. These problems are not apparent with EFT, electronic funds transfer, and so this system has shown many reasons that are better than cash. Okay, this sentence is a little bit better than the other ones, but still there are some areas we would want to reword. Now, this part in here, these problems are not apparent. I think the student's reasoning is wonderful. I think that the way that they have structured their ideas is really quite strong. So it's kind of sad that, you know, the way that they have decided to word their ideas is really what's holding them back in their writing. because the logic is fine. The logic is there. So the student is just simply saying that, you know, the problems of having money stolen and of having money counterfeited is not really possible if the money exists electronically, and if perhaps you need some sort of password or something to access it. So they're saying because of this, it's clear that electronic money is better than, now they use the word cash, we probably want to use maybe a word like paper money or banknotes perhaps. So let's try to word this again. I'm going actually to take, the beginning's okay, but let's try to change this a bit. Now maybe we can say something like as, oops, let's get rid of this. Okay, as these scenarios are impossible. Now when I say these scenarios, I'm talking about stolen money or counterfeited money. So as these scenarios are impossible when transferring money, transferring funds electronically, then let's link back to our thesis, the merits of, and I think the essay question uses the acronym EFT, so we will use it here. EFT system can be seen. So the final sentence here, we are arguing that the problems of stolen cash, you know, maybe a pickpocket taking it out of your bag or something, and the problem of having counterfeit cash, counterfeit money, is not possible if money exists electronically. Thus, the electronic system is better. Okay, so can you see how the argument is linking back to what this student no doubt wrote as their thesis, which is electronic money has more benefits than banknotes. All right, now let's read the paragraph again. And I believe that you will feel now we have made the sentences shorter, more concise. We have linked the sentences together with cohesive phrases. And overall, the flow and the logic and the reasoning of our ideas is much clearer. And thus, when our IELTS examiner reads this, they will see and they will clearly feel that we are masters of the language. Firstly, carrying money as banknotes is not as safe as accessing funds via a debit or credit card. A very clear topic. For instance, the United Arab Emirates dirham issues denominations as high as 1,000. This is the equivalent of more than 250 American dollars. This is the example, very clear. Thus, in the event dirham banknotes are stolen or successfully counterfeited, large amounts of money could be lost rather quickly. This is our discussion sentence. Also very clear. We're showing that the money could be lost because of the high denomination of the dirham. As these scenarios are impossible when transferring funds electronically, the merits of an EFT system can be seen. Okay, a very clear link back to the overall thesis of the essay. Okay, that concludes this video. I hope in the future your writing is concise, to the point, brief, and links your ideas together cohesively, and that overall your writing improves. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.